Hello everybody and welcome back to F123 with me, Dan, and the Slothz Tech team, immediately presented with an issue here. Who is going to be our rival? We're going to go with Esteban Ocon because I feel like we have the most chance of actually beating him. And in the Constructors' Championship, we are ahead of his team. Both him and Gasly, actually, considering that Ocon is the only one of the two to have scored any points yet. On to the activities then, and a quick look through to see what we've got before we go into a season break. I know that is pretty quick after just 3 races, but you've got to remember we have skipped a couple as well to try and flesh out the calendar later on in the season. We'll be getting on with the calendar now, picking up some more resource points, which are always welcome. The Halo upgrade goes through, and then we get the power equipment upgrade activity there, giving us some morale boosts as well. More weekly resources, and season break is done. We carry on, more points there, and we're going to head over to R&D and see what we can get. And the monocoque structure upgrade to get some weight reduction on the car, and as predictable, as soon as we spent those points, we fail one of our front wing upgrades, which is too expensive for us to purchase again right now. So we're going to have to go into the facility and buy the build time upgrade instead in protest, and carry on towards the Miami Grand Prix. One more event coming up as well. We get a discount on the front wing gurney flap, but it doesn't matter because we've already bought it. And we've just got the restart cost to cover, so no matter what happened, we didn't gain anything from it. And we're over to practice as well, following on from all of that. Anyway, if anybody's been watching so far and enjoyed the series, don't forget to give the video a like, of course, and also comment down below. Are you enjoying F1 23 as well? Remember, today is Friday. This is the official release day for the Standard Edition. So if you have been playing it today, let us know down below. Hopefully, by the time this video comes out, I will have waited a couple of days because it's currently Wednesday for me, and I will have picked up the day 1 patch as well. And next week, the next 3 races, because we're going to have one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, and one on Thursday, will come out with some patches and some updated car performance as well, particularly for the Aston Martin, because Alonso is currently performing about equivalent to how he would have done at Alpine in the last game, where Stroll is not. Anyway, on to R&D, and we're going to pick up some completely unnecessary powertrain upgrades there for the speed and also for the ERS. So then it's over to not so much a sunshine state today, but more of a overcast, kind of looks like it's going to rain state here in Miami at the Hard Rock Stadium. Thankfully, no rain forecast for today's race, but we've just got to put up with the kind of washed out grey overcast that has come over the racetrack. Anyway, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell as well, so you know when all of these F1 23 races are uploaded, and so that you don't miss a thing. Onto the starting grid, we've got Charles Leclerc finally gets pole position here over rival Max Verstappen. Still on the front row though, so very good for Charles Leclerc, if anything. Behind there we have Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz and Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon and Lando Norris. Finally, myself and Valtteri Bottas, Alex Albon and Oscar Piastri, George Russell and Yuki Tsunoda, Zhou Guanyu and Kevin Magnussen, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, Logan Sargent and Nick De Vries, and finally on the back row it's Jack Doohan and Nico Hulkenberg, who has a penalty. Jack Doohan suffering quite a bit at this race. I think the car is not quite suited to this track, and as a result, his AI is not able to do quite so much. At least he's not able to put the car quite as far up the grid as I was able to, and no issues with qualifying this time either, which was fantastic. And well, hopefully we're in for another point scoring race, because we're currently sat third in the Drivers' Championship and fourth in the Constructors. Keeping that thing consistent is exactly how you get results in Formula 1. There's Fernando Alonso, hoping to make up some positions. Right then, so it's 5 red lights away here in Miami, and away we go, starting P9. Where can we climb up to today? We're already making up positions there, getting past Gasly and Norris, going down towards turn 1. Norris is going to come back at us though, and we slip it up the inside of the McLaren and Alfa Romeo sandwich that Bottas and Norris were trying to form around us, and they battle away behind us now with Bottas coming out on top. We're starting on the soft tyre here, as is Bottas. It was actually the default option for the strategy this time, so I decided to stick to it. Although what I've been finding is that as they get to the end of the stints, the tyre life begins to really drop off, and it gets quite difficult to keep driving as quickly. Anyway, we continue on. We got Esteban Ocon up ahead of us, and then Sergio Perez, who's dropped a position there at the start. This is on board with Norris. Actually came from quite a way back as he was alongside us. Gets past one of the Alpines, that's Gasly, up the inside, and just goes over that sausage curb. Doesn't help him out too much. Bottas capitalises on Norris sliding around all over the place on the hard tyre. Gets away with that overtake, and we rejoin on lap 3. We're going to get the DRS on Esteban Ocon for the first time now as we come through this area. This is a particularly tricky section to get through at the moment because the rear does like to just lift and then spin the car round, which is a bit annoying, and I've not quite worked out what it is that I was doing which was actually causing that to happen. But nevertheless, we didn't do it that time. We don't get DRS on Ocon, but we do know that it's coming up, so we have emptied the battery as much as we can, or as much as we can afford to right now. And we'll follow him through the underpass section. We are going to get it here. Hopefully 7 tenths back on the Alpine. Let's see what we can do as we get onto the straight. DRS detection zone has gone, and here we go with the main event. Is the rocket ship back in Formula 1? Yes, it is. Esteban Ocon has nothing to compete with that, and we go sailing down towards the final corner. We nearly outdo ourselves there in the braking zone, but we managed to get away with it. Carlos Sainz up ahead, potentially harbouring some issues, has dropped back significantly and is causing a bit of a tailback. Although he has now just jumped up into P2, now P3, as he battles away with his teammates. So perhaps not having too many issues right now, as we're followed by Ocon, who has waited patiently behind us to try and retake P6. And now he's going to get the chance here as we go up the straight. We've got the other Alpine of Gasly also running in the points, just a couple of cars back. And there goes Ocon with the DRS open. We're going to challenge with the ERS here and try and stay with him, but it might not be enough as our tyres are beginning to start boiling off. And yeah, Ocon has taken away P6 from us once again, but much to his demise, that will be. Anyway, this was Carlos Sainz following Charles Leclerc, who pulls an Ocon level drift. If you watched Miami, then you'll know what I mean by that. And Carlos Sainz moved up into P2 again. Unfortunately, it was short-lived because there he is, just a few laps later, being overtaken by Lewis Hamilton. So Gasly, Perez is gone. Hamilton has now got past him, and now Esteban Ocon and myself are now lined up behind the Ferrari as his issues start to take over. You may also notice that our engine is looking a little bit red down in the bottom right corner. As we slide past Esteban Ocon, we do have a small amount of damage on the engine now, because it is reaching sort of the late 80% on its wear. And we get down the inside of the Ferrari as well as the issues mount up for Carlos Sainz. He went from being P2, following his teammate who was pulling sick drifts around the circuit, to now being, well, as of right now, P7 on the end of lap 9. And likely going to fall even further looking at the amount of cars that are currently behind him. We're coming into the pits. We're going to follow Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc into the pit lane. Bottas is coming as well. As I think that's Norris in too. Quite a few people coming in now, actually, as we go on to the mediums. So very standard stints in this race. And we come out right behind Lewis Hamilton. Amazingly not gone to the ghosting that we've seen in previous games. And we've just joined properly behind the Mercedes. And the both of us have come out in this train, which is currently being led by Logan Sargent. Just a few places up the road. But it looks as though Jack Doohan is struggling. I think reliability is plaguing him right now, and his engine is not outputting enough power. We go wide on the cold tyres. We'll see what we can do here against Hamilton and the rest of them. DRS open. Hamilton not really making any kind of significant moves here. So we're going to go to the left-hand side and try and go up the inside of Hamilton. Very slow through there, following Doohan on the hard. I think most of the AI seem to be particularly slow at cornering on the hard tyre, especially if it's a low-speed corner. But we don't get the position away yet, but we're going to have plenty of opportunity now as we come up the back straight. Hard on the power we go. ERS is already deployed before we even got close to the DRS zone, and we'll use that from now on instead of wasting all of our battery. Hamilton not quite able to get past De Vries, and they go through the final corner together. De Vries leaves a gap, and we're going to go to the outside here, but I think he was going into the pit lane, and we kind of ruined his day there. But both Hamilton and myself get through. This is on board with De Vries. Brakes early going into the corner and just really wants to go into the pit lane. But is not allowed to because we're right in his mirror. I've been in that situation before with the AI, and it is not particularly fun when they won't just go past. We've got yellow flags as we rejoin on lap 11. Coming into this section here. Hamilton off the track, and the Mercedes, the next victim of reliability, trundles off the side of the circuit. Lewis Hamilton is out of the session. That promotes us up to P10. We're still waiting for a couple of cars to come into the pit lane. One of them being Nico Hulkenberg, who's currently 4.5 seconds up the road. But we rejoin on lap 12, and we're up into P6 again. Gasly and Hulkenberg still need to come in. So essentially, we're sat in P4 right now. But we've got Lando Norris all over the back of us. And although that McLaren is not particularly good in a straight line at the moment, it's definitely much better than we are in the corners as we run wide onto the runoff at the Yacht Club and rejoin just behind Norris. But he's give us the DRS. Russell's going to get involved as well now. Norris tries to cover us, but the DRS is open, and we go sailing past Norris, who has to slot in behind us by the end of the straight, and through we go. Still in P6, still waiting for Gasly and Hulkenberg to come in, although we rejoin on lap 13 and that appears to have happened. But coming through this section, the tyres are already beginning to get screwed up, and we run wide again. Snap of oversteer as we get onto the runoff area, and here comes Esteban Ocon again, the man that we've been battling with for the first half of this race. Up the inside we go. We don't even need the DRS at this point. We had the better traction out of the corner, despite being on the runoff to begin with. The Alpine on the hard tyre just isn't very competitive, as Russell now goes past Norris, takes away P4, and tries to make something of a weekend for the Mercedes team. And we'll continue to chase down Lando Norris. George Russell has sailed off into the distance on one of the yachts. We keep it on the circuit this time. Running off too wide onto that curb there. Picks up too much dust and dirt on the tyres, and it tends to just throw you off into the shadow realm. Thankfully, I've eventually learnt my lesson. So we've finally gotten DRS along this straight against Norris. We're going to go to the inside already. Potentially not a great idea as we bang wheels of our former championship rival and teammate and continue on through. Of course, I act as though all of these F1 games take place in alternate universes where each time the My Team career car is just set up 1 year later. Perhaps that is how it works. Down the back straight we go. We are not going to have any issues here. DRS is open. Norris tries to defend it, but he's just too slow without the DRS, and we get past him without a problem. ERS, though, is running quite low with 0 upgrades on it just yet. It's looking a little bit dicey as to whether or not we'll be able to get to the end. Okay. This is Verstappen in the Yacht Club. Going slow, and he spins the car around there. That is not handy for him. Decides to go with the hard option for getting it back onto the circuit by driving at the Pirelli board. And comes back onto the circuit. Oh, he stops. And then carries on. So he's lost a few positions, and that means Perez is currently leading this race. As we rejoin on lap 17, and our car is exploding. As the power unit, the ICE in the power unit begins to internally combust itself instead of the fuel that's going into it, and now it's going to give Lando Norris all kinds of lung-related diseases. Probably not the best, but we rejoin on lap 19, about to become lap 20. Esteban Ocon is sacrificing his own lungs to sit behind us to save Lando Norris. Look at the smoke that's going into him right now. Bearing in mind it's hard enough driving a Formula 1 car without having to inhale like all kinds of particulates and poisonous gases, as he gets right into the back of it. He loves it right now. Maybe he runs on the stuff as he follows us through. He wants to get as close as possible to sniff all of those particulates in. We've also got Fernando Alonso, who's managed to catch all the way back up to us, also having a sniff as well, and presumably enjoying what he's found at the back of this train. As the supply kind of cuts in and out, believe me, it's there. And it looks as though Pierre Gasly and Valtteri Bottas have also caught a sense of what's going on, and they want a piece of the action as well. Thankfully, we've only got a few more corners and one straight to go before we get to the end of the race, and then pick up what should be another 10 points here in Miami. Not the best, but it's essential for the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship, especially since Doohan right now is all the way down in 18th and kind of performing much like all of the other beginner My Team career teammates. Perhaps it was the extra pace that we gave him in the last race or two that pushed him up to nearly score his first points. But here we go, across the line in Miami for the final time this week, and as we celebrate, we slam into the pit wall, hoping to douse the crowd in as much smoke as possible. That is 10 points. George Russell picks up Driver of the Day, and the race winner for today's race, it is Sergio Perez, making it 3 out of 4 wins this week and this season for the Red Bull outlet. And of course, Max Verstappen was able to recover to 3rd after his earlier spin. Sergio Perez accepts his trophy, begrudgingly so. He doesn't look particularly impressed with that trophy, but would you? It's been the same trophy that they've given at every single event on every game for the last 4 years, and I think by now he's well and truly fed up with it. I'm sure they used to have different trophies in the older games. Anyway, on to the race results. And here are the full results. Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen picked up the podium positions, with Verstappen also getting fastest lap. Behind there we had George Russell, Radiant Slothz, Esteban Ocon, Lando Norris, Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly and Valtteri Bottas. Over to the Drivers' Championship, Max Verstappen remains at the top of the table, but Sergio Perez now jumps up from 4th to 2nd, ahead of Carlos Sainz and myself. Behind us, we have George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon making up the top 10. Behind them, we have Oscar Piastri, Lance Stroll, Nico Hulkenberg, Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, and Valtteri Bottas as the point scorers, with Nick De Vries, Jack Doohan, Kevin Magnussen, and Logan Sargent on 0. And over to the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull are now over 100 points. Behind that, we have Ferrari, then Mercedes, then we, Slothz in 4th ahead of McLaren, Aston Martin, and Alpine. Behind them, the battle for last between Haas, Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, and Williams. And that's all for this race. We'll catch you next time